In this video, we will learn how to use Excel's Freeze Panes feature. Here we have a data set with over 9,000 rows and 20 columns. As you can see, I will control down here, and we have about 9,900 rows of data. I'll scroll to the right, and we have over 20 columns. So it's a pretty good sized data set. The top row has column headings describing the data in each column. The first column has order ID data, while the second column has product name data. When we scroll down the worksheet, you will notice that the first row is no longer visible, so we won't know what data we're looking at as we continue to scroll down further. Likewise, if we scroll to the right, you will see that the order ID and product name field are no longer visible. So it would be hard to really understand when we're looking at this data which order it's related to or which product name. This can become a challenge when working with Excel spreadsheets that have a lot of data. Sometimes the row headings are not visible, or certain column data at the front of the spreadsheet are not visible. We can use the Freeze Panes feature in Excel to solve this. Freezing panes keeps the row or column headings visible while scrolling in a worksheet. Coming up, we will look at a few examples. Let's take a look at the Freeze Panes feature. Currently we're in the Home tab. Let's go to the View tab, to the Window group, to the Freeze Panes command, and select the down arrow. As you can see, we get three options here: freeze panes, freeze top row, freeze column. In this example, let's take a look at freeze top row. Freeze top row keeps the top row visible while scrolling through the rest of the worksheet. So let's go ahead and select freeze top row. As you can see, Excel puts a dark line beneath row 1 to indicate that it has now been frozen. So now if we scroll down vertically in the spreadsheet, you can see that row 1 is frozen and remains visible. So there you have it. That is freezing the top row option within Freeze Panes. In the previous example, we looked at freezing the top row. So let's continue with freezing panes. I'm going to go ahead here and unfreeze the top row from the previous example. Let's go back into Freeze Panes, and this time let's take a look at Freeze First Column. Freeze First Column keeps the first column visible while scrolling through the rest of the worksheet. So let's go ahead and select that. As you can see, Excel now has put a dark line to the right of column A to indicate that it has now been frozen. So now if we scroll to the right in our spreadsheet, you can see that as we scroll, column A remains frozen and visible, which is good because we can continue to see the order ID as we look at other data within the sheet. In this example, we're going to look at how to freeze rows and columns at the same time. Sometimes you may need to freeze multiple rows or a few columns at the same time instead of just the top row or first column. So in the previous example, we froze column A. Let's start out by unfreezing that. And let's take a look at something a little bit different. Now let's say we want to freeze top row, and we also want to freeze column A. How do we do that? Well, this is how we do that. First thing is to put the active cell beneath the row that you want to freeze. In this case, we want to freeze row 1, so we'll put the active cell in row 2. The second thing we want to do is we want to freeze column A, so we want to put the active cell to the right of column A. In this case, we'll put it in column B. Now we can go ahead and select Freeze Panes As you can see, Excel has put a dark line beneath row 1 and to the right of column A to indicate that row 1 and column A have been frozen. So if now we scroll down, you can see that row 1 is visible, it remains visible, and if we scroll to the right, you can see that at the same time column A is frozen and remains visible. So there you have it. That's a pretty simple way to freeze rows and columns at the same time. In this video, we learned a few basic techniques to freeze rows and columns using Excel's Freeze Panes feature. It really comes in handy when scrolling in worksheets that have a lot of data. I hope you found this video useful. Please click the like button and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay inspired and keep learning.